Good morning. We're going to have a little warm-up for you before our services officially start. So if you're settled and ready to join us in singing, please sing God is my source. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Let's do that again. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. On this beautiful Sunday morning, we'd like to welcome up our guest musician, Charlie Thwaite, back after a long absence. We're so glad to have our old favorite Charlie back, and he will be leading the next song for us.
Thank you. Good morning. So this song is called Feet on the Ground, and I wanted to invite you, would you put your feet on the ground, stand up right where you are. This is, for me, the song is about really embodying what we're learning about, really putting our feet on the ground in these principles. So it's really simple. The words go, put your feet on the ground, and then be in my heart and have connection. That's all you need to know. So let's get you rocking to your right, to your left, to your right. Feel your feet connecting. Put your feet on the ground. Put your feet on the ground. Put your feet on the ground. Feet on the ground. Sing that. Put your feet on the ground. Put your feet on the ground. Put your feet on the ground. Feet on the ground. Be in my heart and have connection. Be in my heart and have connection. Be in my heart and have connection. part one. So here comes part two. The song is about connection, right? So I want you to find a partner nearby, find someone near you, and hold their two hands. You might need to move around a little. So hold their two hands and look in their two eyes. And let's sing it one time through. Put your feet on the ground. 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 Feet on the ground. In my heart and have connection. 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 Put your feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. Feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. Give a big hug. You hug your partner.
Thank you, Charlie. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Hooker, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Unity of Walnut Creek. If you could join me in waving to our friends online. Thank you so much for being with us. We so appreciate your presence. Please also, if you could, turn off all cell phones, pagers, anything else that makes noise, and put it in the silence position so that we can enjoy our sacred service together. We thank our music directors, Lisa and Tyler, for song leading and also playing the piano, along with Dan on drums. Our guest musician this morning is Charlie Thweet. Charlie has been a favorite with Unity Group since the early 80s when he took a leap of faith from his budding architecture career into touring full-time with his spiritual concerts and workshops. Charlie has been a presenter for spiritual organizations and metaphysical conferences for 35 years throughout the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, Fiji, Japan, and he also leads tours in Italy. We are thrilled to have him at our services today and also in concert this afternoon. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Charlie Thweet. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. At Unity of Walnut Creek, our mission is, in loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. I invite you to join me in affirming our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And we'd like to acknowledge those of you who are with us for the very first time. We have a welcome packet and also a wooden necklace handmade by one of our congregants. And we invite you to wear the necklace if you feel comfortable so that we can connect with you after the service. We also invite you to please complete a connection card in your packet and take that to the bookstore for a welcome gift. And if you'd like to and you feel comfortable, if you could raise your hand, we'll bring you a welcome packet now. No one's here. So, well, thank you. And to those of you online, if you're new, welcome. Connection cards are available for everyone in the seat pockets in front of you. And with this card, you may submit a prayer request, and our prayer chaplains will pray with you throughout the week. You may also share feedback with us on these cards. And if you request information, one of our staff will respond to you during our office hours, and the ushers will receive those cards during the offering. And until you hear the gong, please enjoy taking a short moment to greet those people immediately around you.
I invite you all to take a seat. My name is CL, and I would love to share with you some exciting opportunities happening in our community. Remember that our potluck is today after the 11:30 service, followed by the Charlie Thweet concert at 2 o'clock. Think of it as a brief musical retreat to nurture your spirit. Have you been looking for a one-stop workshop to give you a summary of the many tools of HeartMath? Join me this coming Saturday, August 5th, for a workshop to learn how to effectively use the HeartMath techniques throughout your day. When and where? How? The Monument Crisis Center in Concord is collecting backpacks and school supplies for children at risk. We will have a barrel in the patio starting tomorrow through next Sunday, August 6th. Please see the flyer in your bulletin for details on how you can help children start the school year strong. And we also have an easy-to-read list of needed supplies on the guest table out back. Now, Reverend Kristen has a few words to say.
Well, somebody told me that they haven't been used to looking inside the bulletin, so I want to direct your attention to inside the bulletin. And that has weekly announcements and sacred service opportunities. And one of those opportunities that's coming up is the opportunity to become a prayer chaplain, formerly known as heart minister. The prayer chaplains are people, as you may know, who hold a really sacred space for us. They're available to pray with us in person, and they reach out to us in other ways, sometimes making visits to homes and hospitals and so on. So it's really that pastoral arm of our center here. If that's a way of service that really speaks to your heart, we'd like to invite you to come to an orientation meeting to learn a little bit more on Sunday, August 13th, and then to put on your calendar the training weekend, which is here in your bulletin, September 8th through the 10th. That's going to be a residential overnight retreat for one night and then back here on Sunday. So being a prayer chaplain is a wonderful way of serving. It's a ministry of service through prayer and through holding consciousness with one another, to celebrate with each other when we have great joys to celebrate, and to help another person when they're having difficult times in their life. So if you've wondered about that kind of service, been interested in that kind of ministry, we fully train you on the training weekend, and so any fears you may have about praying out loud should be pretty well abated by the end of that weekend. So come join us on August 13th if that's of interest to you. Thanks.
And you can find out about these and more of our other activities online and in your bulletin today. And let's enjoy a musical selection by Charlie Thweet.
share it with another. That's how I know, I know, I know. You sing that? That's how I know, I know, I know. That's how I know, I know, I know. That's how I know, I know, I know. I find it here. And I find it here. I find it now. I find it here. I find it now. I find it here. I find it now. 'Cause my heart is always in love. Sing that. In love. My heart is always in love. In love. My heart is always in love. In love. My heart is always in love. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. So as we prepare for this time of meditation, Terry Curtin's going to share our community prayer with us, and she always shares it in such a beautiful way because she also signs it. So you may want to keep your eyes open for this part and then enjoy the music and the silence.
The word is prosperity. The affirmation is, I opened my mind to divine ideas and new directions of supply are revealed. So as I'm paying bills, I may feel frustrated with my debt to income ratio. I pray for abundance and repeat affirmations. Why then does it seem as if the creative laws of abundance aren't working for me? I am approaching prosperity from a belief in lack. My focus is on increasing in my life. What I am doing is creating more needs, the opposite of my conscious intentions. So I shift my focus to spirit within. I learn to appreciate the ways in which prosperity is already present in my life. I open my mind to divine ideas, which immediately guides me to resources and channels. Prosperity comes to me in new and wonderful ways. I, the Lord, test the mind and search the heart to give all according to their ways, according to the fruit of the doing. Jeremiah 17:10. And so it is.
So it is.
So the theme today is giving. I chose this song looking at how prayer is both a way to receive and to give. Let's close our eyes. Sitting here in silence, talking to God, talking to God each day. Sitting here in silence, talking to God, talking to God, I pray. I can call for help anytime, talking to God each day. I can send out help anytime, talking to God, I pray. Sing with me. I can call for help. I can call for help anytime, talking to God, I pray. I pray. I can send out help. I can send out help anytime, talking to God, I pray. I pray. Sitting here in peace, sitting here in peace, talking to God, talking to God each day, each day. Sitting here in peace, talking to God, talking to God, I pray, I pray. I can call for help. I can call for help anytime, talking to God each day. I can send out help. I can send out help anytime, talking to God. I pray, I pray. I can call for help. I can call for help anytime, talking to God each day, each day. I can send out help. I can send out help anytime, talking to God, I pray. I pray.
And so as we rest in the divine, we are aware of that ever-present prosperity principle, the law of circulation. Receiving our breath and giving our breath back into the world. Receiving from the trees and the plants and giving back to the trees and the plants of the world. Receiving the life breath of spirit that animates our being, and giving our animated expression and action into the world. receiving blessings from Spirit in our quiet time, and sending our blessings out into the world. So as we are aware of the blessings that we continue to receive in this silent communion time, we now share them, sending out love and light, peace, vision, forgiveness, generosity, faith, to all those in the surrounding community that may be seeking those very things. And even those who are not aware of what they seek, now feel that light and that love. Your blessing going out into the community. And from this immediate community, we see the blessings spilling out further into the Bay Area and beyond throughout the state of California. Light and love, blessings of prosperity and abundance, goodwill and well-being. And it spills out throughout our country, pulsating and concentrating in our capital in Washington, D.C. Light and love, understanding and harmony, kindness. And this blessing continues beyond throughout our planet, blessing all those who are aware or unaware of the light and the love that they seek, but now receive it. And beyond this planet into the cosmos goes light and love, kindness, peace, generosity. And we breathe in the joy of having given so freely. And so it is. Amen.
I can call for help anytime, talking to God each day. I can send out help anytime, talking to God. I pray. I can call for help. I can call for help anytime, talking to God each day. Each day I can send out help. I can send out help anytime, talking to God. I pray. I pray. I pray. I pray. This song is called It's All a Gift. It's all a gift, the light pouring down. It's all a gift when things come unwound. It's all a gift, the loving we learn. It's all a gift, the light we return. So I lead with my heart, the heart of my soul. I lead with my heart and give up control. I lead with my heart, shining within. When I lead with my heart, healing begins. We sing that line. When I lead with my heart, when I lead with my heart, healing begins. Healing begins. Sing it again. When I lead with my heart, healing begins. Sing, it's all a gift. It's all a gift. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Leading with our hearts. So we're in a prosperity series, if you're just joining us, and today we're talking about the third pillar of the 4 pillars of prosperity. We started with the foundation of faith. And this week I've been thinking about that first pillar, vision. It's been an interesting week, hasn't it? It has been an interesting week. And it's made me think about leadership. I don't know about you, but I've thought about leadership this week, which then makes me think about vision, our first pillar. And part of the reason why I thought about that is because we had a very special visit this week from Jim Blake, who's the new CEO of Unity Headquarters, and Linda Martella-Whitsitt, who's the new Vice President of Silent Unity at our headquarters at Unity Village, which is near Kansas City, for those of you who don't know. And they just came here specifically to Unity Walnut Creek. They had another reception for area ministries, but then they came to visit our church. And, you know, they had a development officer with them, and so I just had kind of an idea that, you know, of what the agenda might be, but I didn't know. And it was quite different than what I thought. They weren't looking for anything specific from us. They were coming to share with generous hearts their vision for the movement and wanting to hear our ideas for the movement. Just happened to be, I was there as a representative for us, but sometime we'll have them with all of us present when we have a little more time to plan that. But it was so inspiring and fulfilling for me to have this generous exchange and this visionary leadership. And one of the ideas Jim has, and he's just exploring because he's new, but he's exploring this partnership with this beautiful acreage we have at Unity Village, this idea of turning the old motels that have gone down into disrepair into a place where veterans can come and be artists in residence on the land and receive things like equestrian therapy and other kinds of gifts that we can give back to our veterans. And that's the kind of vision that he's talking about, those kinds of examples. And it just touches my heart and makes me feel so happy to be a part of a movement like Unity at this time in our world. Because we are all about what we want, right? Not what we don't want. As they were leaving, they asked if there was somewhere they could change as they got on the road to travel home. And I have to say, I'm going to use the word proud. I was proud to bring them to our restrooms and see that we have this sign that says non-gender specific access. We're living our principles that are inclusion and welcome. And it's not just, you know, we can have a vision and do nothing with it, right? But when we have a vision and then we use our 5th principle of unity and take action, there is that full cycle of generosity in that law of circulation, a key prosperity principle in practice. As we give, so we receive. There's a lot of well-known conventional sayings about this law of circulation. What goes around comes around, for example. You've heard that one. You get back what you put into it. You've probably heard that one. I don't know if you've heard the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who said, "Be cautious of spitting in the wind." See, the principles, they work no matter how you work them. You can work them for the goodness of all, and you can work them in a way that's not so good for all. You know, but either way, that law keeps on moving. It's like a scientific law. It's like gravity, right? You can participate with the law of gravity, or you can not participate and suffer the consequences. That's how spiritual law works, just like scientific law. So I was just moved by these leaders who took the time to come here and to just share and hear my ideas and really, you know, just be in that wonderful crucible of creativity together. And then as we were leaving, Suzanne, the development officer, said to me, "I want to really give thanks to your church for the gifts that you give to Unity Headquarters." Because I don't know if you all know, but we tithe as a church Every month, every week that offerings come in, we set aside our tithes and we send them out. And they go to Silent Unity and Unity Worldwide, and sometimes to projects in the world that we feel inspired by, that we find that are spiritually feeding us and others. And so we're walking that talk once again. We're in that principle of generosity. Luke said it this way: "Give and it will be given you, a good measure, pressed down, shaking together, and overflowing, poured into your lap." So when we give in such a way, when we give in joy, when we give with a consciousness, that receiving just comes. We don't give to receive. We just give because it's our natural impulse to give. We are spiritual beings, and spirit is a giver. And so as spiritual beings, it is our natural impulse to give. There's also, though, when we give, sometimes, for a lot of us, this sort of instinctual, primal, survival kind of thing that rests in this scarcity myth of lack. You know, Piero Ferrucci, that's his name, is an author who wrote The Practice of Kindness. And in it, he tells a story about his 4-year-old grandson. And his 4-year-old grandson gave his grandfather in this spontaneous way that children give, you know. Sometimes they just spontaneously give you a flower, one of their prized possessions. And so he gave his grandfather, Piero, this little Matchbox car that he loved, one of his prized possessions. And Piero, being a psychologist, kind of had understood sort of the process of giving and this sort of primal instinct that we have that says that we feel sometimes as if we've lost something when we give it away. We have that sort of, you know, giver's remorse, if you will. And so he watched this happen as he slipped the car into his pocket and thanked his grandson. He watched how his 4-year-old grandson went into panic mode. You know, oh, my prized possession. Suddenly, you know, there was this and so Piero just let it ride. He didn't, that impulse to give it back and fix it, he didn't do that. He just let the young boy move through it. And he said the panic then subsided. And he said, "You can keep it." And he ran away and played. And so it's a lesson for all of us that when we have that knee-jerk kind of reaction of we gave and then I feel like I've lost something, that we can stay in the consciousness of the giving. We can stay in the consciousness of how it blesses, how that blessing multiplies, how the person who has received something precious to us, some great gift that will continue to expand in its goodness. It's that pay it forward kind of concept, you know, like the movie, if you ever saw Pay It Forward. So how do we give? Well, we want to give genuinely, right? When we give, we want to really mean the gift. You know, sometimes we give because we think we should, or because society says we should. Anybody ever go to a birthday party or a celebration and you bought a gift because that's the custom, but not because it brought you joy to do so, or even joy to give it and to watch the person receive it? That kind of giving isn't very fulfilling for anyone. But when we actually think of somebody, when we see something, or we come across something in our home, we think, oh, I think so-and-so would really enjoy this. Or we give something not material, but just a smile, or a hug, or a compliment, or a kindness of some kind. We just feel the impulse to give it without attachment of how it may be received. That's also a beautiful way to give. You know, after 9/11, there was a tribe in South Kenya that didn't hear about what happened in 9/11 for about 7 months after it happened. 7 or 8 months later, they heard of the news, how this catastrophe had come upon New York City. And being very not like us in our society in the West in terms of our cultures and customs and way of doing things, they did it, of course, in their own way, got together in their ceremonial robes and began to discuss this catastrophe, not knowing necessarily the details of it or much about our society, just knowing that this thing had happened in New York City. And so they began to think about what could they give. And so they decided in a council that they would give their prized possession, their 16 cows, to New York City. So people came in solidarity and gave of their food source to people across the world who they had never met because of the impulse to give, because of the spirit of generosity that lives and breathes in the truth of who we are. That kind of spontaneous and generous flow is really our natural way of being. So we can block that flow, or we can continue to give. Giving spontaneously is a really fun way to give. And how many of us will think something really nice about somebody and don't say it? Do you ever do that? Especially like if you're with a stranger in the elevator, or, it suddenly makes us feel a little bit vulnerable, I guess. We're not sure how it's going to be received. The person doesn't know us. And so we tend to hold back. But Spirit doesn't hold back. And so why would we hold back a gift given to someone? Some kindness spoken to someone? Some wish for peace or goodness for someone? So that kind of spontaneous gift is a really lovely way to give. We were sitting in our prosperity class. We're doing a class on the same 4 pillars of prosperity on Thursday nights. And I was sitting next to Ted and Deborah. And I think it was when we were sharing in threes and triads. And spontaneously, in the middle of our share, Ted looks at me, and he's referring to Deborah, and he says, "Isn't she pretty?" And it was like the sweetest, purest, just spontaneous gift. And it's that kind of giving, almost childlike spontaneity, that brings so much joy. Or we could give in like silly, humorous ways, like Shel Silverstein, the poet, suggests. He says, draw a crazy picture, write a nutty poem, sing a mumble-gumble song, whistle through your comb, do a loony-goony dance, cross the kitchen floor, put something silly in the world that ain't been there before. So sometimes it's just bringing a little joy, giving that into the world. And we can also give in really extraordinary ways, ways that most of us don't think about giving because we have sort of a conventional way of understanding how we do certain things. For example, when we are in a sporting event, we get competitive, right? Typically, there's competition involved. And so I want to tell you a story about a softball team. I'm going to start the story, but then we're going to actually watch the rest of it on a video. And the story is about Western Oregon and West Central Washington women's college softball. And this was a few years ago that a young woman on the Oregon team was a senior. She was only 5'2". She never had big hits. She hit line drives typically. She'd never hit a home run in her whole career. And it was her last year, and this was a championship series. And she got up to bat and hit a home run over the fence, out of the park. And then she rounded first base, but she didn't touch the base. And while she was on her way to second, she turned quickly to go back and touch first, and she tore her ACL. And so she was lying on first base in pain, and she couldn't move. And everybody was frozen. What do? It's over the fence. She's supposed to round the bases, get the runs, right? And so the coach, her coach, looks at the umpire and says, "What can we do?" And he says, "Nothing. She's got to finish." And there's stillness. And a girl on the other team has an idea. One of the star players. And she asks another co-star player and looks at the ump and says, "Can we carry her? Is there anything in the rules that says we can't bring her around?" And he says, never been asked that question, right? No, I don't think so. And this is what happens. Let's watch the video.
If anybody would have, on her team, would have helped Sarah, she would have been called out.
That was the problem. None of Tucholsky's teammates were allowed to touch her. That's when Central Washington's Mallory Holtman, a player with more home runs than any other in conference history, a player for the opposing team, spoke up.
I went to the home plate umpire and asked if we could pick her up and carry her, and he looked at me a little strange.
And the umpire went and said, yes, you can do that. I'm still standing there in shock. I said, thank you so much.
We asked her, so like, is it okay if we pick you up and carry you around the bases? And I say yes, and and say thank you. And she says, you hit the ball over the fence, you deserve it.
For that reason only, because she deserved it, Holtman and Wallace began to carry the injured Tucholsky, stopping to touch her left foot on each base as the three made their way around the diamond.
We actually started laughing because we were just wondering what this would look like to all the people in the stand. When I looked up, I didn't see, giant smiles and screams. I saw emotion and tears and people crying.
It's a great moment when someone has character to step up and do the right thing at the right time.
It's emotional. You're proud. Be associated with those kids.
That's the first home run of the season for number 8, Sarah Tucholsky.
The fact is, I made my goal. I hit a home run, and it's my last at bat of my career, but I, made my goal, so I'm proud of myself.
Mallory Holtman, Liz Wallace, and the Central Washington team lost the game that day, 4-2. Sarah Tucholsky lost the rest of her season and her career to a knee injury. But for the spirit of sportsmanship, a greater victory, made on a long trot around the bases, a trip that truly touched them all.
I have a lot of respect for her and put her in high regards, her and her teammates. And, I can't thank her enough.
Well, it's so different to watch that with you all than at home. We're like all crying together. Yeah, give extraordinarily, beyond the conventions of our society. Give, as the coach said, to have the character to give at the right time, in the right way. That's one of the ways that we want to practice generosity. So we can practice in all kinds of ways. And one of the beautiful things about what we're doing in the class right now is practicing tithing. And so tithing is giving 10%, and we give our time, our talents, and our treasure. So we're practicing. Everybody in the class has made a commitment to give 10% of their income during the duration of the class, and to give 10% of their time, and so we figured that out, to spirit and practice. So we figured that out to be about 90 minutes a day of spiritual study and meditation and prayer, and to give about 4 hours a week or 10% of their time throughout the week in service, to give of their talents in that way. And so that's, putting a little bit of structure or mathematics on it, but sometimes that helps us, to get a practice going, to make a solid commitment like that. So extend that to you to consider, what kinds of commitments do you want to make around this practice of generosity? Because as you commit, greater and greater opportunities will come to you. And of course, more and more will you be in that flow of the law of circulation, making that prosperity law alive and well in your life. One of the things, though, about this is there's giving, as we've talked about, and in the law of circulation, there's also receiving, right? There's a loop that happens. How many of you say, I got the giving down, but I'm not so great with the receiving? Anybody in that camp? Some people who are in the helping professions especially tend to be big givers and have a harder time receiving. So I want you to consider that that's not so noble to not be a good giver or not be a good receiver, because you, in a way, you block the loop and you block the joy. You know the joy. If you're a giver, you know the joy of giving. And so you're blocking other people from that joy, from giving to you when you don't receive. It would be as if the rivers that feed into the ocean turned around and said to the mountain, "No thanks, I don't want any more water." You know? Guess what would happen? Nothing more to give, right? So it's meant to be a circulation. It's meant to be a flow. That's what prosperity is. It's a flow. Just like in Charlie's song, we pray for guidance, for help, for insights, for awakening, and we give that gift. You know, it's just a constant cycle, this prosperity walk that we're in. So in the end of this short walk on earth, some of the questions we may ask ourselves if we're given that opportunity for a life review are, how well did I love? How well did I give? How generous was I? Because these, I know, are things that all of us in this room value. Was I like the little boy who at times had the panic? And was I like the little boy who was able to ride the wave of that and still give freely? Was I able to move through those times when I got caught up in scarcity myths that told me that a sense of lack, that there's not enough, and I grasped really hard? But then was I able to move through that and give and let go the grasp? Did I fall into that scarcity myth that says more is better, and I began to amass things and then have them sit idle, not being used? Or was I willing to continue that flow, that circulation, like the circulation day the youth had here last weekend, or 2 weekends ago? So at the end of our lives, we may ask ourselves, did I love, did I forgive freely, the pillar that we talked about last week? Did I give freely? And for those of us who are walking the prosperous walk, we'll ponder these questions and then we'll live the answers. You know, we'll be the breathing, living, active spirit in the world, the generous spirit in the world that can freely say, just as we do every week in our blessing, that I am, that sense of I am, all that I am and all that I have and all that I give and generously receive. All that I do is done in this prosperous law. All that I do is given of freely. And then that divine love, guess what it does? It blesses and multiplies the good. We say it every week, but sometimes it helps to just jumble up the sentences a little bit for us to really sink in to what it is that we're doing and how big our blessings are. Unseen even. Those that we can't even see who we touch. Maybe you didn't even know before today that when you give to this community, you also give to Silent Unity. You also give to the headquarters. You also give to a place that has big vision for our movement. So let us continue to practice our prosperity, and this week especially, to be generous in every way that we can. Give spontaneously, give humorously, give in fun, and watch how the receiving comes back. Don't block the flow. So let's close out with an affirmation together. I give and receive with a generous heart. Let's say that one more time together. I give and receive with a generous heart. And so it is.
Thank you for giving with your generous heart, Reverend Kristen. Our prayer chaplains are available after this service to provide personal prayer support, and they are the ones wearing the lavender stoles. Whether you have a joy or a concern on your heart, praying with our prayer chaplains is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness. Let us now open our hearts to the consciousness of giving as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. There are a wide variety of ways to give financially to our community, and for credit card donations, you can use the PushPay on your smartphone or take an envelope in one of the seat pockets in front of you. And for those of you watching online, you can also use PushPay or click on the donate button on our Watch Live page. I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand and repeat our affirmation with me together. Divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
Thank you. I want to invite you back at 2 for the concert and come see me at the CD table. Thank you.
Thank Charlie. Words right out of my mouth. Let us bless this goodness that is before us, symbolic of our generosity into this community, into the world, into all the connections that we have. May all be blessed with kindness, with peace, with inclusion and celebration. Thank you, God. And let's bless this together with our affirmation. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is. Let's sing our children in.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God.
Hi. We wanted to thank you all. The children are going to share a little song of their giving, of their gifts and talents to the world and to all of you.
I am as I am, I am as I am, I am as I am, I think I like it. I am as I am, I am as I am, I am as I am, I think I like it. Only as I am, can I reach what I'm looking for? Only as I am. Can I reach what I'm looking for? Boom, 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 boom. I am as I am. I am as I am. I am as I am. I think I like it. I am as I am. I am as I am. I am as I am. I really like it. Yay.
I think we had some shy ones because I know they've been practicing. It was a beautiful song. That's right. Thank you, Pam and Lonnie and all of you for sharing your gifts with us. Let's close out our service with a prayer of protection and the peace song. So you may want to join hands with somebody nearby. And together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God ever present, family all are we.
and the peace on earth. So let your light shine and have fun.